Surprise! This is a surprise video for you. I decided after watching my last two videos that I would show you how to basically mix up your colors. I'll show you how to mix up my colors, and then if you have questions, you can email me at young.spike@gmail.com. and I will help you mix your colors. You can send me pictures, I can give you tips. Now, so let's just jump right in. I cleaned off my palette. I put all my extra paint onto a white plate, porcelain. That way it will not dry out. I put plastic over it. I sprayed it down before I put plastic over it. It's good. It's saved. I don't like wasting paint because it's expensive. So I was taking a very good look at my hammer to determine what kind of paint I should mix up, and I saw this amazing thing. I'm going to turn this light on really quick so you can take a look and see look at that. So I'm a big fan of safety, generally speaking, but when I saw that this was, and when I saw that that was written on the hammer, I just thought to myself, you got to put that in your painting. So that's going in the painting. And I like setting up my still lifes so that there's meaning in them. I'll go into that later. This is really about color mixing, and I want to get to that because I don't want this to be a super long video, but color mixing could honestly go on for months and years because there's so much you could do. So as I said, I like to choose red, yellow, and blues, warms and cools, and then I mix those colors to get the colors I want. So in looking at this, I am looking at a silver hammer that is covered with brownish and reddish and some yellow orange rust. And then I have this very nice blue. It's a dark kind of cerulean, I would call it, maybe. A very greened up cerulean. And so first of all, I'm going to start out by making black paint. Not because I need a ton of it, because I don't, but because I really like not buying black paint, because when I make black paint, it just looks better. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so when I want to mix up a black, I get a burnt sienna, as you can see, and an ultramarine blue. And I use those two to make black, and I'll show you what I mean. So first, I'm going to spray my palette, and I'm not going to put the bottle in the way because then you wouldn't see what I was doing. Then I take just a dab of the ultramarine. As I said, I don't need a ton, and I put it down in the water. So I used this, and I am using the squeeze tube of burnt sienna because then I don't have to clean my palette knife in between. And frankly, I'm just gonna say it, I'm a little bit of a lazy painter. When I was in college, my art teacher, who was amazing, Michelle Ross, told us to put our paints in discrete piles on our palettes. And like the moment she said that, I was like, oh well, you know, like I'm like not that person. So I will tell you the same thing. Be very organized and clean with your paint. I'm not, but I think when other people are, it's awesome. Okay, and then I take a little bit of this burnt sienna and I squeeze it out like that. And then I'll show you. I'm going to turn on this light and hold up the phone so you can see what I'm doing. So you got a good image, and then I just mix it like this, see? Now, if I were doing it the way I always do it, I wouldn't be making such sweet little, tiny little strokes as I'm making right now. See how that's kind of turning into, sometimes, you know, I need to add more blue, sometimes I need to add more burnt sienna, but it depends, you know, on, so it looks like I'm gonna need a little bit more blue, because right now this is just a dark brown, right? Are you catching that? Are you seeing it? Yeah, it's a dark brown, so I'm going to need to add a little bit more blue. Sadly, my palette knife is dirty, and if I stick it in to my ultramarine blue, you know what's going to happen? It's going to be tainted, and we don't want tainted. I'm going to just give a little bit on the side here. Oops, that's more than a little bit. So I might have to add some burnt sienna after this. Anyway, so I'm gonna pick you up again and let you see what's gonna see. So you'll see it kind of morph. I'm gonna get out of the light as much as I can. And you see how it's kind of getting darker and darker there? Yeah, see? This is the other thing to remember when you want to make a dark brown. You can make browns by mixing, you know, green and red, and yellow and purple. If you mix, ooh, that might actually be a very nice black. Ooh, this might actually be the ticket, people. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's going to be my black. Why? Because I love it. And as with most things in art, I mean, this is a little bit on the blue side, but I kind of like that depth. So yeah, here is my black. And really, if I were smart, I would move it over here, and that's what I'm going to do. It's not going to stay over there because, you know, I know I'm a messy person. But, okay, so I have a little bit of black. And that's going to come in handy when I want to gray up my whites. So you see my black. And now I'm going to do my whites. So I have a warm white and I have a cool white. But the white on the painted board is also on top. You know, so it's on top of the board. And the board color is coming through a little bit. And it's showing up a little bit as like an orangey pink. So I'm going to need a little bit of an orangey pink white. And I'm going to need like a warmer white. And I'm going to need some silver and some blue. And I'm going to pause, mix up some paints, and then show you what I did. And maybe mix up a few more colors. So I'll be back in just a second. I'm back. So I'm going to show you what I did here. So I have a white. Then I mixed up a cooler white with cerulean blue that I used from over here. And then I mixed up a warm yellow. Can you see that? The warm yellow. And I used this yellow to mix that up just a tiny bit in the white. And then for this, I put in a little bit of our old friend burnt sienna. And then I got out some burnt sienna and I added some yellow to it to make the rust. So this is one of the things that I'll teach you about color mixing and why I like to mix my own colors. Is because if I can put a little bit of these colors in some of these colors, the painting to your eye will be easier to look at. Your eye will move around it more. And that's what people who mix their colors do. Like, so this is my black made with ultramarine and burnt sienna. This is basically ultramarine blue, cerulean blue. No, this is ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. This is ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and cerulean. And this is that tinted and tinted a little bit more. So there's cerulean, ultramarine, and titanium white. Now that's the other thing I'm going to talk to you about is your color of white. Whites are different, and if you want a white that tints down your colors nicely and evenly, use titanium. Zinc is too translucent, so I wouldn't go with zinc white. I would go with titanium white. That's what I do, though. Again, you might love zinc white. You might discover zinc white is your new bestie, and that's cool, man. I'm down. I'm just saying that for me, titanium is the way to go. So I'll say again, basically, I try and make sure that I have a little bit of each color spread throughout. So there is a little bit of this yellow in here, but not really enough to like, oh, there's some yellow. You wouldn't know it. But as I said, our eyes see things that our minds aren't aware of. I talked about that in the last lesson. And this is why I wanted to talk to you a little bit about color first, is because one of the things you can do as a painter, if you're mixing your own colors, is you can put tiny bits of color that you're using in other things, in things that you would know. Like, I have yellow in the white, I have yellow in the rust, and I have yellow in the blue. And it's all the same yellow. It's Diarylide. It's some word I can't even pronounce, so I'm just gonna say it. And ultramarine and burnt sienna, those are my besties. I mean, if I'm gonna give you my besties for paint color, it's ultramarine, burnt sienna, and titanium white. These are my besties because I use them in so many paints. And so I mixed up enough paint so that I can get started on this arrangement. And tomorrow I'm gonna post a video of me painting. I'm going to show you my setup. I'm going to show you how I start and what I'm doing. And you can follow along and see how you set yours up and if you want to do something similar or different. Okay, well, I'm glad you joined me for this surprise paint mixing demo. As I said, I tried to use, you can see the yellow in that burnt sienna, isn't that cool? I try to use the same paints in all my colors, just a tiny little bit, because then your whole painting works together better. It just does. I know there's science behind it. If I could remember it right now, I would tell you I've learned it, but I mean, I'm having some issues with memory as I get older, and I'm just gonna say drop a goog, because that's the best way to learn anything. Okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow for our painting class. I'm super excited. If you have any questions, young.spike@gmail.com. If you want to see any of the work I've done, you can go to spikeofalltrades.com and check out my work there. You can follow links to a print website where you'll see some realistic images I've done. And yeah, just see what you're getting yourself into. I mean, it's only the third class. You've only really spent 30 minutes listening to me. So if at this point you're like, I'm out, I totally get it. But if you want to stay and like follow this adventure with me, I would love to have you. Power to the peaceful.